The planet Lauria was beautiful. It was a world of endless oceans and floating cities. The sky was always purple and pink. 3 moons hung in the heavens like silver coins. For 3,000 years, the Valari people had lived here in peace. The Valari were tall and thin. Their skin was pale blue like morning sky. They had large, dark eyes that saw beauty in everything. They had never built a weapon. They had never fought a war. They believed the universe was a kind and gentle place. Elder Toma was the oldest of them all. He had lived for 600 years. His body was weak now, but his mind was still sharp. He sat in the great hall of the High Council, surrounded by the other elders. They were all afraid. "The scouts have confirmed it," said Elder Myra. Her voice shook as she spoke. "The Kreth swarm is coming. They will reach Lauria in 30 cycles." A wave of fear moved through the hall. The Kreth were monsters. They traveled through space like a plague of insects. They consumed everything. Planets, moons, entire star systems. 12 civilizations had already fallen to them. Now Lauria was next. "We have no ships," said Elder Ven. "We have no weapons. We have nothing to fight with." "Then we will die," said Elder Pox. His voice was flat and empty, like all the others before us. Toma listened to them argue. He listened to them cry and beg and lose hope. But his mind was somewhere else. He was thinking about the old stories. Stories his grandmother had told him when he was young. There was a device in the deep temple, a machine left behind by the founders, the ancient ones who had seeded life across the galaxy millions of years ago. They called it the Beacon. The story said it could call the guardians of the void, powerful beings who protected the innocent dot. No, one had used the beacon in recorded history. No one even knew if it still worked. But Toma was desperate. "I know what we must do," he said. The other elders stopped talking. They looked at him with hope in their eyes. "There is a way," Toma continued. "The beacon. We must activate the beacon." Elder Mira shook her head. "The beacon is a myth, a children's story. The guardians do not exist. Maybe they do," said Toma. "And maybe they don't. But we have no other choice. We can sit here and wait for death. Or we can call for help and pray that someone answers." The vote was quick. They had nothing to lose. Toma traveled to the deep temple that same night. It was at the bottom of the ocean, in a place where no light could reach. He went alone. The journey took many hours. The temple was ancient beyond imagination. The walls were covered in symbols that no living Valari could read. And there, in the center of the great chamber, was the beacon. It looked like a crystal flower made of light. It hummed with power that Toma could feel in his bones. He placed his hand on the device. He thought about his people, his world, the children who would never grow up if the Kreth came. Tears fell from his eyes. "Please," he whispered. "If anyone can hear this, we need help. We are going to die." The beacon exploded with light. A pulse of energy shot upward through the ocean, through the sky, through the atmosphere, and into the darkness of space. It moved faster than light itself. It crossed the galaxy in seconds. The signal was simple. It carried one message in every language ever spoken. "We are dying. Please help us." Toma fell to his knees. He had done all he could. Now he could only wait and hope. Far across the galaxy, on a small blue planet called Earth, the signal arrived. Admiral Count Deho was drinking coffee in his office when the alarm sounded. He was a hard man with gray hair and cold eyes. He had fought in 3 wars and won them all. He had scars on his body and deeper scars in his soul. His assistant, a young officer named Shin Beora, rushed into the room. "Sir," she said, "we received something. A transmission from deep space. It's not human." Deho put down his coffee. His heart beat faster, but his face showed nothing. "Show me," he said. They walked to the command center. Dozens of officers were already there, staring at the screens. The message played on repeat. A desperate voice speaking in a language no human knew. But the computers had already translated it. "We are dying. Please help us." The room was silent. For 200 years, humanity had searched the stars for other life. They had found nothing. They had started to believe they were alone. Now they knew the truth. Where did this come from? Deho asked. "The Andromeda sector," said Biora. "About 40,000 light years away." Deho stared at the screen. He thought about all the years humanity had spent preparing. All the weapons they had built. All the ships they had created. Humanity had always been afraid. Afraid that something was out there. Something hungry and cruel. They had prepared for war against gods. Now someone was asking for help. And humanity was going to answer. "Contact the World Council," Daiho said. "Tell them we have received first contact. And tell them to wake up the fleet." He looked at the message one more time. Those words, "We are dying. Please help us." Whoever sent this was hoping for angels. They were hoping for kind and gentle saviors. They had no idea what was coming. They had called the wrong species. The World Council met within 6 hours. Leaders from every nation gathered in the Great Hall in Geneva. They came from America, China, Russia, India, Brazil, and 100 other countries. For 200 years, they had argued about borders and resources and politics. But today, none of that mattered. Admiral Kandeho stood before them. Behind him, the alien message played on a giant screen. "We are dying. Please help us. This is real," Deho said. His voice was calm and strong. The signal came from a planet called Lauria. "Our scientists have studied it. The species there is called the Valari. They are peaceful. They have no military. And they are about to be destroyed by something called the Kreth Swarm." The room was silent. Everyone was listening. "The Kreth are like nothing we have ever imagined," Deho continued. "They move through space in billions. They consume everything in their path. Planets, moons, stars. They have already killed 12 civilizations. The Valari will be next." A woman stood up. She was the president of the European Federation. "What do you propose we do?" she asked. Deho smiled. It was not a kind smile. "We go to war," he said. "We take the fleet. And we show the galaxy what humanity is capable of." The United Earth Fleet had been built over 2 centuries. Humanity had always feared the unknown. They had looked at the stars and wondered what horrors might be waiting there. So they prepared. They built ships that could survive anything. They created weapons that could destroy worlds. 200 warships sat in orbit around Mars. They were massive machines of black metal and fire. Each one was a monument to human fear and human strength. Captain Yoon Hana stood on the bridge of the Iron Lotus. It was the largest battleship in the fleet. She was a small woman with short black hair and eyes like ice. She had commanded ships for 20 years. She had never lost a battle. Her second in command, Lieutenant Park Woo-jin, walked up beside her. "The crew is ready," he said. "All systems are online. We can launch whenever you give the order." Hana nodded. She looked out the window at the stars. "Have you read the reports about the Kreth?" she asked. "Yes," said Woo-jin. "They are terrifying. Billions of organic ships. Living weapons. A hive mind that controls them all. They've never faced humans before," said Hana. "They have only fought peaceful species. Species that did not know how to make war." She turned to look at her lieutenant. "We are different," she said. "We crawled out of mud and blood. We survived ice ages and plagues. We fought ourselves for thousands of years before we learned to work together. War is in our nature. It is what we do best. The Iron Lotus was fully armed. It carried 50 railgun batteries. Each one could fire metal slugs at incredible speed. It carried 100 nuclear missiles. It carried experimental plasma cannons that could cut through anything. And it carried 5,000 Marines. Soldiers who had trained their whole lives to fight and kill. Chief Engineer Biksu Young was in the engine room. She was a genius with machines. She had built half of the ship's systems herself. Engines are at full power. She reported through the communication system. We can maintain combat speed for 72 hours without rest. Weapons Officer Cho Tae-min was at his station. He was a quiet man who never smiled. But he was the best shot in the entire fleet. All weapons are loaded and ready, he said. Targeting systems are calibrated. I can hit a moving target from 10,000 kilometers away. Marine Commander Lee Nari was in the training bay with her soldiers. She was tall and strong with scars on her arms. She had fought in the Mars Insurrection and the Jupiter Rebellion. She had killed more enemies than she could count. Listen up, she told her Marines. We are going to another galaxy to fight aliens. Real aliens. Some of you might not come back. But I promise you this. For every one of us that falls, 1,000 of them will die. Her soldiers cheered. They were not afraid. They were excited. Admiral Daeho arrived on the Iron Lotus that evening. He would command the entire fleet from this ship. Hannah met him at the docking bay. The fleet is ready, she said. 200 ships. 1 million soldiers. Enough weapons to crack a planet in half. Daeho looked at her. The Valari asked for help, he said. They think they called for angels. Beings of light and mercy. He walked past her toward the bridge. They called the wrong species. We are not angels. We are monsters. And we are going to show the Kreth what happens when you threaten the innocent. The fleet launched at midnight. 200 black ships moved away from Mars and entered hyperspace. They left trails of blue fire behind them as they vanished into the void. On Earth, people watched the sky and wondered what would happen. Some prayed for the soldiers. Some feared what humanity might become. But most felt something they had never felt before. Pride. Humanity was finally leaving home. And they were not going as explorers or scientists. They were going as warriors. They were going to save a species they had never met. They were going to fight a war they did not start, because that was what humans did. They protected the weak. They punished the cruel, and they never, ever backed down from a fight. Elder Toma had not slept in days. He stood on the observation deck of the orbital station, watching the stars, waiting, praying. The Kreth swarm would arrive in 6 cycles. Soon, everything he loved would be gone. The other elders had stopped hoping. They were preparing their people for death. Some wrote final letters. Some held their families close. Some simply sat in silence and waited for the end. But Toma still believed. He had to believe. The beacon had worked. The light had shot into the sky and vanished among the stars. Someone had to have heard it. Someone had to be coming. Elder Mira walked up behind him. You should rest, she said softly. You are too old to stand here all day and night. I cannot rest, said Toma. Not until I know. Myra sighed. The Guardians are not real. They were stories, myths. No one is coming to save us. Toma said nothing. He just kept watching the stars. Then something happened. A tear appeared in space. It was like reality itself was being ripped apart. Blue fire poured out of the wound in the universe. And from that fire came ships, black ships, massive ships, ships covered in weapons and armor that Toma could not understand. More tears opened. More ships came through. 10, 20, 50, 100. The sky filled with dark metal and burning engines. Mira grabbed Toma's arm. Her eyes were wide with terror. What are those? She whispered. Toma did not answer. He could not speak. He had never seen anything so frightening in his entire life. These were not the guardians of old stories. The guardians were supposed to be beautiful. Beings of light and grace. These ships looked like predators. They looked like death itself had taken physical form. Alarms rang throughout the orbital station. Lauria officers ran in every direction, screaming in panic. "We are being invaded," someone shouted. "Another enemy has found us." Toma raised his hand. "Wait," he said. His voice was weak but steady. "They have not fired. They have not attacked. Let us see what they want." A transmission came through. A face appeared on the screens. It was an alien face. Flat, with small eyes and brown skin. It had a hard jaw and gray hair. There was a scar running across its chin. The creature spoke. Its language was rough and strange. But the translation computers worked quickly. "You called for the Guardians," the alien said. "They are dead. They have been dead for 10 million years. We heard your signal instead. We are humanity. We are what is left." Thomas stepped forward. "Humanity?" He repeated. "We have never heard of your species." The alien smiled. It was not a gentle smile. "No one has heard of us," he said. "We are from a small planet far away. We call it Earth. We have been alone for a very long time. Waiting. Preparing. Preparing for what?" asked Myra. "For exactly this," said the human. "For war." The human introduced himself as Admiral Candy Ho. He explained that his fleet had traveled across the galaxy to answer the distress call. 200 ships. 1 million soldiers. Weapons that could destroy planets. The Valari Council was terrified. They had never met beings like this. The humans radiated violence. Their ships hummed with power. Their eyes held no fear at all. "Why did you come?" asked Toma. "We are strangers to you. We have nothing to offer." Deho's face changed. For a moment, he looked almost sad. "You asked for help," he said simply. That was enough. Toma did not understand. In the stories, heroes always wanted something in return. Gold, power, worship. But this human wanted nothing. "The Kreth swarm is coming," said Toma. "They are billions strong. They have destroyed 12 civilizations. What makes you think you can stop them?" Deho's smile returned. This time, it was sharp and cold. "We have destroyed each other for thousands of years," he said. "We invented war before we invented writing. We built weapons that could end our own world. The Kreth have never faced a species like us. They have only eaten the peaceful and the weak." He leaned forward. "We are not peaceful. And we are certainly not weak." Captain Yunha came down to the orbital station with a small team. She met with Elder Toma in person. Up close, the humans were even more frightening. They moved like hunters. Their bodies were dense with muscle. Their eyes watched everything done, but Hana spoke gently. "I know you are afraid of us," she said. "That is smart. You should be afraid. But we did not come here to hurt you. We came to protect you." Toma looked at her. "Why?" he asked. "What do you gain from this?" Hana thought for a moment. "On our world," she said, "there is an old saying. The strong protect the weak. Not because they have to, but because they can." She looked out the window at the stars. "For 200 years, we searched the universe and found nothing. We thought we were alone. We thought there was no one to protect. Now we know we were wrong." She turned back to Toma. "Tell us where the Kreth are coming from. Tell us their numbers. Tell us everything you know. And then get your people to safety. We will handle the rest." Toma felt tears in his eyes. He had prayed for saviors. He had begged for mercy from the universe. And the universe had sent him monsters. But these monsters were on his side. Maybe that was enough. The Kreth swarm arrived on the sixth day. They came out of deep space like a living storm. Millions of ships. Each one was organic, made of bone and flesh and teeth. They moved together like insects. 1 billion minds connected to one hive. One thought. One hunger. They had consumed 12 civilizations. They had never failed. They expected Lauria to be another easy feast. They were wrong. Admiral Kang Daeho stood on the bridge of the Iron Lotus. He watched the swarm approach on the tactical screens. So many ships. So many enemies. Any other species would have run. He smiled. All ships, he said into the fleet communication system. This is Admiral Daeho. The enemy is here. You know what to do. Captain Yoon Hana took command of the battle group. Form defensive line around the planet, she ordered. Railgun batteries to the front. Plasma cannons on standby. No one fires until I give the word. The human fleet moved into position. 200 black warships. Against millions of KRETH. The Kreth hive mind was confused. It had never seen ships like these before. They were made of metal and fire. They did not run. They did not beg. They just waited. The hive sent a message. You are small. You are few. Surrender, and we will consume you quickly. Fight, and you will suffer. Daeho laughed. This is our response, he said. The Iron Lotus fired first. A railgun slug flew across space at incredible speed. It hit a Kreth hive ship and tore it apart. The ship exploded in a cloud of blood and bone. Then the rest of the fleet opened fire. The sky erupted. Railgun rounds cut through the swarm like rain through paper. Nuclear missiles detonated in bright flashes of light. Plasma beams carved burning lines through clusters of enemy ships. The Kreth screamed. Not in anger. In confusion. In fear. They had never felt pain like this before. Lieutenant Park Woojing coordinated the attack from his station. Enemy formation breaking apart, he reported. They don't know how to respond. They've never fought anyone who fights back. Weapons Officer Cho Tae-min worked his controls with cold precision. Every shot he fired hit its target. Every target died. Ammunition at 70%, he said calmly. Requesting permission to switch to secondary batteries. Granted, said Hana. Keep firing. Don't give them time to think. The Kreth hive tried to adapt. It sent waves of smaller ships toward the human fleet. Boarding pods filled with warriors. Parasites designed to eat through metal. They never got close. Chief Engineer Baek-Soo Young activated the point defense systems. Thousands of small guns fired automatically. They created a wall of bullets that nothing could pass through. The Kreth pods were torn apart before they could reach the ships. Point defense at full efficiency, Soo Young reported. They can't touch us. On the surface of Lauria, Marine Commander Lee Nari waited with her soldiers. Some Kreth had managed to land before the battle started. They were hunting Valari civilians in the floating cities. Nari would not allow that. Move out, she ordered. Find the enemy. Kill them all. Our Marines moved through the streets like ghosts. They were trained for this. Close combat. Urban warfare. The things that humans did best. The Kreth warriors were terrifying. They stood 3 meters tall. They had claws that could cut through steel. They had teeth that dripped with poison, but they had never faced humans. Nari found the first group in a civilian shelter. They were trying to break down the door. Behind the door, she could hear children crying. Hey, she called out. The Kreth turned. They saw a small human female standing alone. They laughed. A strange clicking sound. Nari did not laugh. She raised her rifle and fired. 3 Kreth fell dead before the others even moved. Then she dropped the rifle and drew her combat knife. Let's dance, she said. The fight was brutal and fast. The Kreth were strong, but Nari was faster. She moved between them like water. Her blade found every weak point, every soft spot, every vulnerability. When it was over, she stood alone. 6 Kreth bodies lay at her feet. She was covered in their blood. But she was smiling. She opened the shelter door. Inside, the Lauria families huddled together in fear. They looked at her with wide eyes. "It's okay," she said. "You're safe now." A small Valari child walked up to her. She touched Nari's hand. "Are you an angel?" The child asked. Nari laughed softly. "No, little one. I'm something much worse. I'm human." In space, the battle raged for hours. The Kreth threw everything they had at the human fleet. Millions of ships. Billions of warriors. But nothing worked. The humans were too strong. Too fast. Too violent. Finally, the hive mind made a decision. Something it had never done before. Retreat. The surviving Kreth ships turned and fled. They ran into deep space as fast as they could. They left behind millions of their dead. They left behind their pride. They left behind their hunger. They broadcast a warning to every Kreth hive in the galaxy. Do not go to Lauria. Do not go to the 3rd planet of Sol. Monsters live there. Monsters that cannot be beaten. Monsters called humans. Admiral Deho watched the enemy disappear into the void. "Stand down," he ordered. "The battle is over." On the Iron Lotus, the crew was silent. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Then everyone. They had won. Humanity had won its first alien war, and the galaxy would never be the same. The sun rose over Lauria. It was the first sunrise since the battle ended. The purple and pink sky was beautiful. The 3 moons were still there, hanging like silver coins. The ocean still sparkled. The floating cities still stood. Lauria had survived. Elder Toma walked through the streets of the capital city. Around him, Valari people were crying, not with sadness, with joy, with relief, with wonder. They had been saved. Against all odds, against all reason. They had been saved by strangers from across the galaxy. Admiral Kang Deho met Toma at the Central Plaza. Behind the Admiral, human soldiers were helping with repairs. Engineers fixed damaged buildings. Medics treated the wounded. Marines guarded the streets. "We wanted to thank you," said Toma. His voice was thick with emotion. "We wanted to give you something. Anything. We have art, music, poetry, philosophy. Please, take whatever you want." Deho shook his head. "Keep your gifts," he said. "We did not come here for payment." Toma looked confused. "Then why?" he asked. "Why did you travel so far? Why did you risk so much? Why did you fight and die for people you never met?" Deho was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the Valari around them. Parents holding children. Friends embracing. Old ones weeping with gratitude. "On Earth," he said finally, "we have a saying. No one should face the darkness alone." He turned back to Toma. "You called for help. We answered. That's all there is to it." Captain Yunhana joined them. She looked tired but satisfied. Behind her came Wu Jin, Su Young, Taemin, and Nari, the heroes of the battle. "What will you do now?" Toma asked. Hannah looked at her team. "We'll stay for a while," she said. "Help you rebuild. Train your people to defend themselves. Build orbital defenses so no one can threaten you again." Toma's eyes filled with tears. "We don't know how to fight," he said. "We have never built weapons. We don't have soldiers." "You will learn," said Nari. She smiled gently. It was strange to see kindness on the face of such a deadly warrior. Not because you want to, but because you have to. The universe is dangerous. And now you know that. But you don't have to face it alone. Su Young stepped forward. "I've already started working on plans for your new defense grid," she said. "With your technology and ours combined, we can build something incredible. Something that will protect you for generations." Taemin nodded. "I can train your volunteers," he said. "Anyone who wants to learn how to shoot, how to fight, how to survive." Wu Jin pulled out a small device. "And I've set up a direct communication link to Earth," he said. "If you ever need us again, just call. We'll come." Toma fell to his knees. He could not speak. He could not find words for what he felt. These strange, violent, terrifying creatures had crossed the galaxy to save his people. And now they were offering to stay, to help, to protect Dodd. They were not the guardians of legend. They were something else entirely. They were human. Days passed. Then weeks. The human fleet remained in orbit around Lauria. Shuttles moved constantly between the ships and the surface. Supplies, equipment, people. The Valari began to change. They still loved art and music and philosophy. But now they also learned about defense, about strategy, about survival. Human instructors taught them patiently. They never asked for anything in return. Elder Myra approached Hana one evening. "I have a question," she said. "Your species, humanity, you are so young compared to us. How did you become so strong?" Hana thought about it. "We were never safe," she said. "On our world, everything tried to kill us. The weather, the animals, the diseases, other humans. We had to fight every day just to survive." She looked up at the stars. "We built weapons before we built temples. We conquered our planet before we conquered our fears. We are violent and stubborn and impossible to destroy." She smiled at Myra. "But we also protect the weak. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. That is the other side of us. The part we try to remember." Myra nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is why the beacon called you," she said. "Perhaps the universe knew what we needed. Not gentle angels, but fierce guardians. Monsters who would stand between us and the darkness." "Maybe," said Hana. "Or maybe it was just luck." She put her hand on Myra's shoulder. "Either way, we're here now. And we're not going anywhere." Admiral Daeho stood on the observation deck of the Iron Lotus. He was looking at Lauria, that beautiful world of oceans and floating cities. A world that had almost died. Hana joined him. "The galaxy is talking," she said. "Word of the battle is spreading. Other species are learning about humanity, about what we did here." Daeho nodded. "Good," he said. "Let them talk. Let them know that Earth is watching. Let them know that if anyone threatens the innocent, we will come." He turned to look at Hana. "The Valari called for guardians. They got us instead. The wrong species, they might have thought at first. But maybe we were exactly what they needed." Hana smiled. Maybe the universe knew what it was doing after all. Across the galaxy, the story spread. A peaceful planet had cried out for help. And from across the stars, warriors had answered. Not for money, not for power, just because someone had asked. Other civilizations began to whisper. They spoke of Earth, of humanity, of the strange species that built weapons like gods, but fought like demons, and they spread a message of their own. If you are ever in danger, if you ever face the darkness alone, send a signal toward the third planet of the Sol system. Send it toward Earth. The humans will answer. And heaven, help your enemies when they do. Toma watched the human fleet from the orbital station. They would leave soon, return to their own world. But they would be back. He knew that now. He whispered a prayer into the void. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for sending them. Thank you for sending the wrong species. Because sometimes the wrong species is exactly right."